Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. This video is about a fatal police shooting by North Carolina Highway Patrol. It was the result of a traffic stop for the driver and passenger not wearing seat belts, and then the driver pulled out a gun on the trooper. So here's the video, and then we're gonna have commentary.
61 Henry John Henry 1990. Henry John Henry 1990. Trooper Cook, Highway Patrol. The reason why I stopped you, y'all not wearing a seatbelt. The reason why. What's the reason? Do what? Speak up. Do what? You're near what? Alright, well speak up when you're talking, sir. On 64 here you didn't have a seatbelt on. The law says you gotta have it on no matter where you're at on the road. Get your driver's license, registration. ID. You don't have ID? You got any ID on you, sir? The reason why you wasn't wearing a seatbelt either? You just took it off? How much marijuana's in the vehicle? I can smell some. You saying there's nothing in the vehicle? Alright, you want to step out the vehicle then?
Major red flag is the fact that he stopped in the middle of the intersection. When somebody does something like that, usually they're about to run. Because I've had people stop like that in the middle of the road and they take off on foot. Because most of the time it's a stolen car, or they got a lot of warrants out for them, or a combination of the two. And see, a lot of people ask me, why do cops touch the back of a vehicle when they pull it over? Well, they told us that in the academy, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because when I was on patrol, I wore gloves most of the time. But they touch the back of the vehicle, so if something happens to them, if the person is apprehended with that vehicle at a later point in time, then they can dust the vehicle off for prints, for the officer's prints. And then also, you notice how the vehicle is still in drive. You see the brake lights are still on the vehicle, which means he has not shifted in the park. That right there, that would tell me that, okay, this guy is about to floor it as soon as I get up on the vehicle. Had that happen before too. Now, in my vast experience in law enforcement, what I've noticed most of the time, probably 90% of the time, when somebody does not have their license on their person, it's because they're either suspended or revoked. It's usually one or the other, or they've never even had a license. And then if somebody, if as an officer you pull someone over and they hand you a state ID, then you know for a fact they're suspended or revoked. Because what I would do when I would pull somebody over and ask for the license and insurance, and they say, oh, I left my license at home, I don't have it with me, I would just ask them straight up, which is it, suspended or revoked? It's only going to take me a few seconds to find out. And then most of the time they'll say that, oh, it's suspended or revoked because of this, that, or the other. But now, what I did, when I would pull somebody over, if their license was suspended for certain things, like red light tickets, City of Chicago parking tickets, child support, or toll violations, any of those, if somebody had a suspended license because of that, I would let them go. Because to me, that's a BS suspension anyway, especially the automated enforcement. It's not fair to suspend the registered owner's license and they might not have even been driving the car at the time. And especially my thing is child support. Because what does your ability to operate a motor vehicle have to do with you not taking care of your kids to someone else's standards? One has nothing to do with the other. And that's why I never enforce that garbage. Because to me, that's an unjust suspension. And seriously, there needs to be a federal mandate prohibiting states from suspending people's licenses for automated enforcement and child support, especially child support. The trooper has full legal authority to order the driver out of the vehicle because, number one, the guy doesn't have a license. Number two, he can smell marijuana coming from the vehicle. People say all the time, oh, they can't search your car because of that. Well, if they smell marijuana like that, that gives probable cause to tear that car apart. Now you're about to see how this goes down. Right here, that trooper is in the best place for cover and concealment because of the fact that this Ford Ranger has that extra tall toolbox in it that's obstructing the offender from getting a good shot off at the trooper. So the trooper has that toolbox to help kind of shield him a little bit, as well as the back of the truck. So the trooper has a good vantage point because the guy hasn't even got his gun up yet. So he has a clear shot right here. Homeboy went running off. He didn't want no parts of that.
D140 Raleigh. D140 Raleigh. Shots fired. Shots fired. Sir, let me see. Hey, drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Harmony Drive at Solo Drive, Siler City. Drop the gun. Drop the gun.
He has to keep him at gunpoint here because the gun is still in his hand. Now, some people say, oh, the cop should have never touched the gun because then his fingerprints on it. Doesn't matter because the whole thing's on dash cam footage anyway. So it doesn't matter if you kick the gun away or if you take it out of his hands and move it out of his reach. We already have proof that the offender had the firearm. And it's always people who have never been in law enforcement and who have no clue about law enforcement who say the stupidest things like, he could have shot him in the leg or he could have shot the gun out of his hand. When you have people who say ridiculous things like that, pay them no mind because they are completely delusional and they have no idea what they're talking about. And the rest of this video, it's the trooper ends up going to his vehicle and getting his gloves and medical kit, and he attempts to render aid. As law enforcement, we're required to render aid even if we shoot somebody. Now, in the civilian part of it, if a civilian shoots someone in self-defense, a civilian is not required to give an offender first aid. He tried to stop the bleeding, and the paramedics came, other law enforcement came, but of course the guy ended up dying. And I don't know yet if they caught the other guy who was with him, but the way he took off running, he probably knew what his friend was up to anyway, because it's always the case. Birds of a feather flock together. You know, a piece of trash scumbag like this, the guy hanging around him, he's not on his way to Bible study or anything like that. No, he's probably of the same mentality and would do the same thing. And the way he took off running is because he probably has something illegal on him and or warrants out for him. It's a good shoot. It's a righteous shoot. If the trooper hadn't shot him, there's a good chance he wouldn't be here now. So he did a great thing, and he got this trash off the street, and he gets to go back on patrol. So all these people that want to say cops are always shooting people for no reason, this is proof that they don't shoot people for just anything. It was kill or be killed. And if you can't see that from the video, then you must be blind. And now I had someone ask me also, why didn't he shoot him another time after he was on the ground? Well, simple reason is the offender no longer posed a threat at that time. Now, after he had been shot, he still had the gun in his hand. If he was able to point the gun still at the trooper, then yes, he would have shot him probably several more times. I know I would have. But if I had to shoot somebody like that and they're on the ground and the gun is laying there and they're not able to fire right then, if I can get there and get the gun away from them, then that shot right there will suffice, because they tell us in the police academy, you shoot until the threat is stopped. Whether that's 1 shot or 7 shots, it doesn't matter. If someone is on PCP, for example, you might have to shoot them 5-6 times and they might still be in the fight. There was an episode of Cops a long time ago where this guy, he was on PCP and he was butt naked and broke into a barber shop and the guy who owned the barber shop lived upstairs. And so he came down. He had a .22 revolver, and he shot the dude probably 5 or 6 times. And the guy was still trying to get at him. He was able to run up there and lock the door, so he couldn't get up to the upstairs apartment. And then when the cops got there, man, it was blood all over the floor. It probably took at least 5 or 6 cops to get this dude in handcuffs. That's how it is when you're fighting with people who are on PCP. And now that stop, even though it was a perfectly legal stop because they had on no seatbelts, I learned my lesson about making stops for just super small things like that. Because one time I pulled this guy over, driver and passenger had no seatbelts on, and the biggest mistake of that was, number one, I shouldn't have even did that. I shouldn't have even wasted my time doing that traffic stop. But then it wasn't even long before the end of the shift. So both of these guys had warrants out for them, and the driver was revoked for, might have been DUI or something like that. So both of them had to go to jail. The car had to be towed, and I probably stayed after about 4 or 5 hours doing paperwork and processing them. So after that, I said, man, I will never pull anybody over for something that minor again, like a seatbelt. Now, if you pull somebody over for speeding and they don't have a seatbelt on, then that's different. But solely on a seatbelt or one headlight, no, I'm not talking about the song by Wallflowers. Somebody, if they have one headlight in the vehicle, or if a brake light is out, something like that, it's not even worth doing a traffic stop for. I've done this before. I'll pull up next to somebody at a light and say, hey, you got a headlight out or you got brake light out or something like that. Go ahead and make sure you get it fixed so you don't get pulled over anywhere else. And then people appreciate that kind of stuff. To me, that's good community policing. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember to stay armed, stay vigilant, and stay tactical. We'll see you next time.